So for those of you who are just joining the recording, we've just started and we're just diving into CRMs, the contact relationship management. Now, if I just jump out of that for a sec, let me show you this. All right. To give you an idea of what you can do with the CRM, okay? This is HubSpot, okay? Free version, so it hasn't got all the bells and whistles because I actually don't need all the bells and whistles. It's got all of my contacts in here, and I've got various data on them, including phone numbers and emails and where I met them, so I can differentiate between a customer, a non-customer, a potential lead, somebody who came from a specific trade show. I want to speak to everybody I saw on that particular day. Right, it's all there broken down. And out of that, obviously, you can create lists of the different people that you deal with on a very varying basis. Now, the emails I was talking about, and I'm kind of rushing this a little bit. I'll generally spend an hour just going through CRMs, but we've got 20 minutes on this, so let's just jump in. Okay, to give you an idea, let's just go very quickly here, very quickly. Oops, there, boom, boom. All right, this gives you an idea of the data I was talking about with the CRM. Now, MailChimp will do this for you. Keep will do this for you. Capture will do this for you. They all provide this data. It just depends on what user interface you relate to, how much money you need to invest, what sort of functionality you need. Now, I use HubSpot for two reasons. One is I find it very easy to navigate and to use, which is important for me. I don't want to have to think too hard about my systems. I want them to be instinctive. And the second thing is that for the free version, I get a lot of functionality. All right, so for me, it's a great mix. And I know for this particular email, who opened the email up, how many people clicked on the links that were in it, how many replied. No replies, that's fine. This wasn't a reply email. This was a please click the link and register email. How many bounced, how many people on that list unsubscribed. Okay, a little high for my taste, but it is what it is. And also which links they clicked on in the email, so I know which bits of the email they really wanted to dive into. Now, in this particular example, if we just have a look at these numbers to give you an idea of what sort of numbers you're looking for when you put a CRM into place and when you send an email out to potential customers or to your customers, telling them about something that's going on, open rate 35, almost 36%. Now, HubSpot and MailChimp, their data and their research shows that across all industries, the average open rate is around 22%. So for that, I'm really, really happy. Okay, I know that I've got an engaged audience, which means my list is full of people who kind of are interested in what I've got to say. That's nice. That research also shows me that across all industries, the click-through rate, the click rate is around 2.2%. So obviously, what I'm putting in front of my audience is almost 4 times as attractive as what the industry usually sees. So I'm kind of getting the message right. Right? So this sort of data here is good feedback for me. It shows that I'm on the right track. Right? The unsubscribe rate is a little high, but it's a pretty new list. I'm just kind of shaking out. So it'll take a little time to settle down. Right? So I'm not happy, but I don't mind that, but it lets me know. Normal unsubscribe rates tend to be under 1%. That's about what you're aiming for. But again, I've got the data there. I'm giving people the option to unsubscribe, which is a legal requirement. Okay, and the CRMs will all do that for you. They'll build that into your email, so you're covered off there. So what you've got is a system that does a lot of the hard work for you, will give you feedback on how effective your communication is, and enable you to be very targeted with the people that you communicate to. Okay, you can just hit people from a specific area, geographically, you get them from a specific industry, if you want to carve your list up that way, customers, prospective customers, you've got a lot of power at your fingertips. So if you've got a customer base that you want to talk with on a regular basis and put ideas in front of and new products in front of, or just send newsletters out to people and say, hey, this month, this is what's happening in the industry. You might be interested in this, you might be interested in that. If you're going to do that, you need a CRM. Okay, if you would like to reach out to people who have come into the business and aren't sure if they want to deal with you, you need a CRM. You need to see how effective you've been. Let me show you another trick that they will all do for you. Landing pages, right? Landing pages. It's a one-page website. Okay, let's get, it's nothing super sexy or tricky. It's just a one-page website. every CRM I've seen will enable you to build a landing page so that you can do it as a newsletter registration, as an event registration, as a simple holding place for your company. You're going to build a website, but it's pop up a one-page landing page saying, here's where we are. A new website is coming soon. If you want to know more details, just click here and register. Okay, very simple to create. And these are all drag and drop. All right. And again, HubSpot's one of the easier ones I've seen for creating landing pages. Monday.com is actually quite simple. I found MailChimp a little clunky. Sorry, MailChimp, but that's what it is. But here you've got, as you can see, very simple, drag and drop, click in spaces to type in text. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Okay. And away you go. You can put in whatever you want. And then, don't need to do that. You can put in titles. HubSpot will actually host them for you, as will a number of the others. You don't need to worry about where am I, do I need to get a Google sheet space to host it? You don't have to do any of that sort of stuff. It's there, good to go. You can then optimize it. It will show you what it looks like in terms of, oops, come back here, preview, there we go. It will show you what it's going to look like on screen and in terms of desktop and tablet and on a phone. All right, and that's kind of cute. I've had some I've done in the past where I've had forms in there for people to register for things. And when I've had a look at it on a phone size screen, I realized that some of the form fields are too big. I had to restructure the form so it presented correctly. And then you can simply publish it. All right, easy to do. Now, all right, as I said, for those who've just joined us, welcome. If you want to have a chat, by all means, if you've got questions, please ask. Okay. Please don't put it in chat. There's every chance I will not see it. Okay. So that's a very quick overview of what a CRM is and can do for you. Now, while I've got a screen open, let's talk really quickly about task management. And I'm going to be really sneaky now. All right, there we go. We'll just put that away for a sec. Bear with me for 30 seconds. Let's just open up that in the background. There we go. Now, for all the people who are here at the moment, obviously in your business, you've got a lot of stuff going on. Now, I had a session this morning with one of my clients, and she's picked up Asana. We spoke about different task management solutions. She's gone with a free version of Asana, and she set up a number of boards for different clients. And within those tasks for those clients, she's allocated certain things to certain team members so they can see on their Asana board just the bits that they've got to do. And that way, she's got much more control. And what she has is indeed oversight over the whole business in terms of task for clients. She can look at one screen and she can see essentially what everything that needs to be done for every client and where everybody's up to in those particular jobs. That's brilliant, considering the fact that 3 months ago, she was essentially running on an email trail, which drove me insane. I really couldn't get my head around how that even functioned. She put Asana in place. We had to talk about how to set it up. It's now up and running and everything is so much smoother. So let's have a quick chat. In your own businesses, is there anybody here now who is using a task management system of some description? Asana, Trello, ClickUpMonday.com are common examples of that, where they've got a system that tracks where they're up to with all their clients or their customers with the day-to-day tasks in their business, their forward planning. Who here uses that sort of system? Anybody? Oh, hello. There's movement at the station. Samantha.
Oh, hey. I don't use it in our business because we only have, we only really need to look at cash flow and things, but I do in my work life, in my other work.
Yep. I get that. Okay. And with those sort of systems, do you find that they create an extra task monitoring them, or do they actually work the way they're supposed to work, where you have oversight of what's happening and you know what's coming up and you can plan efficiently?
I think the thing is that we need to devote the time to set them up in a way that works for you. And then once we've set them up and then we're diligent about, going in and marking off what we have done or adding other things in, that makes a big difference. But if you just do it, and it's the same as writing a list down on a piece of paper, if you just do it and leave it and walk away.
Samantha, you've just stolen my next slide. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
No, seriously, honestly, from the heart, thank you, because that raises the number one point, not only with CRMs, but particularly with task management systems. If you put them in place and then don't use them, why bother? Okay, they only work if you dive in and start using them. And I had this conversation with a client the other day around how much of it is automated. Well, some of it is to a certain extent, but the point of it is you go in there and you monitor where you're up to, you do what you've got to do, and then simply record the results so that you've got essentially a living document that tracks where you're up to with everything. And there's not stuff happening automatically where you actually haven't done anything. You have to go in there and tell it stuff's been done and then move it on. And from that point of view, let me show you this. This one will do. Let's have a quick squeeze here, okay? Now we've got, this is Trello, okay? Free version thereof. And here we have an example. There's another, and I'll grab this one here, of how you can have a workflow set up where you can track all the tasks that you need to do within a certain area of your business. Okay, you can go from, in this example, this is the free version of Trello. Most task management systems are like this CRMs. They'll have a basic, half brain dead, if you like, free version with maybe a couple of bells and one whistle. And then if you pay some more money, you get to have a whole lot more functionality. All right. But here you can see in the standard Kanban board approach where you're really running your task from left to right across the various stages of a process. Okay. Now, if we come back to the one that I use, you've got a simple situation where you're going from opportunity to completion. All right. Now, in regards to that, you can, of course, when something's done, you simply move it across. With mine, if you're in a task, I actually have a little button set up here where you type in what's been done, you add any documents that relate to this task that you've created or that have come on board that you've got to hook up. You've obviously got the ability to attach team members to it, so people who are working on this task with you know what's going on. You can change the date to the next date something has to happen, so you get reminders. And with mine, there's a button where you can just say the stage is complete, and it moves across to, it moves across to the next stage in the process. Okay. Now, if you think about it in terms of your business, when it comes to managing your workflow, how much advantage would there be in having a board like this? And it doesn't have to be a board. Customer this morning, she has it set up in lists because that just suits the way she looks at things. Okay, where she would have it. Free version doesn't give you this, but in others, in Asana and in ClickUp, you can have it simply set up as a list for the day, or you can turn it into a calendar, and you can simply look at a month, and there's got everything for each day. It's got a list of the tasks that need to be done on that day. And for them, that works very nice and neatly, helping them plan out what needs to be done to know who in their team is on top of what's happening, and where you've actually got to apply some energy and some focus to make sure that you don't get behind and miss deadlines. So you think about it when it comes to planning out your next 12 months, right? So start with the big picture stuff, okay, in terms of your marketing campaign, for example. You could have an entire separate board around your marketing campaign and plot it out with what needs to happen in each quarter, what needs to happen each month. And that way, when you've got oversight, you can look at it and say, okay, so there's our whole year pretty much mapped out from a marketing point of view. We know what we have to do in terms of the big ticket stuff. You've still got flexibility. It's not set in concrete, but you have that planning, you have that ability to track where you're up to with all the tasks so things don't get overlooked. And that's the biggest risk that I've found in business over the last, let's say 30 and a bit years, is that when you get busy, as in super, you're really running hard, what you're doing is working, clients are coming on board, you're delivering your awesome solutions, and you miss something because you had so much going on that it simply didn't get written down somewhere, it got overlooked, and suddenly you've got to divert attention from what really makes money to go back and fix a problem that happened, which was entirely avoidable. Particularly in the days of paper diaries. Like, you just don't write something down once and it's gone. Here, you create the card and the card's there for the people who need to see. Okay, you can share it across your team. In terms of functionality, that is enormously powerful. Let me show you one other, just while I'm here. Hang on, I'll just drop out of that for a second. Let's just do the easy thing. Here we go. Today's really show and tell. I like show and tell. Okay. This is the all singing, all dancing version of Asana. And this is a board that I created about 15, 16 months ago for the Darling Downs area, where we were doing a lot of work with Business Station delivering digital solutions. Now, what we've got is we've got all the organisations that we're touching base with, what particular regions are in, what level of interest we had, what sort of priority we had to put in place with them, and a whole lot of people that I could plug into at different points where they needed to know what was going on because it was within their geographical or business area of influence. So that way you weren't bombarded with information about clients or projects that had nothing to do with you, but you were certainly on top of the ones that involved you. Okay. And of course, you then also knew where things were up to. Now, this looks very static, as in terms of nothing much seems to have happened, because not long after I did this, our team came on board in Toowoomba, so I was able just to go, it's all yours. And they set up and ran their own systems, which didn't need my input. But you can see how you can very easily have oversight of everything that's going on in a particular project or across the business as a whole. Now, you take that thought process and you look at what you do in your business and think, okay, maybe we don't need something this big, right? Because this is certainly, and this is just one part. There are many, many more boards behind that for other projects. This is just one part of a large organization delivering a large government project. You think about what you're doing, okay, from my point of view, smaller operation, slightly different stages, but I'd like to have oversight of where all the clients are. And more importantly, you think about it, if you're delivering services for clients and they say, hey, listen, this looks awesome, I want in, okay, I love what you do, but I'm not going to be ready for what you do until February. Okay, well, why don't we put that in an opportunity or an engagement column with the date of February on it, or mid-January, so we get an alert, a notification mid-January, early February, saying, hey, don't forget, these guys wanted to have a chat about solving their problems. They were very keen. Let's reach out again and get the ball rolling. Okay, and I've got a number of those on my own board in Trello where we're ready to go, and we're just waiting for a few things in their business to fall into place so we can pull the trigger on it and make some projects happen. Okay, and that way, by having them in the board with a notification with some dates on it, I'm not going to overlook it. It won't get forgotten. They're there ready to go. So take that strategy across to your business and think about how much more productive you would be and how much more revenue you would generate by having that oversight that doesn't require you to remember everything, that doesn't need to have a book that might get lost. It's all there on your system, ready to roll. Now, speaking of systems, all right. Where are we? Ooh. Speaking of systems, my system is being unsystematic. Okay. Are we back to systems? There we go. Now, there we go. We're back. All right. So if we look at, so we'll just drop back a second. with task management, let's talk about systems. As I said, Trello, Asana all have free versions. Monday.com has a free trial. ClickUp has a free version. Okay, and those three, sorry, take out Monday.com because eventually you've got to pay for that. But if you're just a micro, you just want to taste test, you want to see if it works for you, Asana, Trello, ClickUp, grab the free version and have a play. You can't kill them, you can't blow them up. Right? And just see what sort of functionality is there that would make your life easier and enable you to keep more oversight, more sharing with your team, the ability to have documents attached with a certain client accessible in one spot so people don't have to go hunting through shared drives and find things that have been lost. It's all there. That sort of functionality on tap. Think about that. That is what these systems are going to deliver for you without a shadow of a doubt. Now, while I'm talking about delivering and functionality and shadows and doubts, let me tell you about a little cute trick we set up the other day. As I said, we use HubSpot and Trello. Now, HubSpot integrates with just about everything automatically, or it has integrations written with just about everything except Trello. However, if you use something like Zapier, you can write a very cute integration. So as soon as somebody goes to my website or to one of the landing pages and enters their contact details and submits that form, HubSpot, obviously that contact is then created in HubSpot. So I've got them in there ready to contact. And the integration trigger goes, oh, beauty, new contact, straight to Trello, straight to the opportunities column and says, hey, Kelby, new clients just reached out, potential client, what do you want to do? And they're already straight into the workflow without me having to lift a finger. And no chance for me to get any information incorrect by trying to retype something because the client's already put it in and they generally know their own phone number and email address pretty well and their name and their company name. And often they'll put in something useful in the message field, like I saw you here or there. So I'm able to add them to a list that they should automatically be in. So I get that sort of data straight up. Now you think about how clients reach out to you by email or via forms on your website or via Facebook and say, okay, if I've got people reaching me like that, and I then have to re-enter that data and then set them up in our workflow, what if we had systems like that, which made things automatic? No double handling of data, no need to do another task. It's all simply flowing through so we know exactly where we're up to. That's the sort of power and functionality you can have when you get these systems set up and just have them just ticking over. Right? Now, make no mistake, I'm using about 30% of HubSpot's brain space. Like really, there's a whole lot more we can do with it just in the free version. And I'm using about 2/3 of what Trello can do, right? And that is more than enough functionality for us to have our business ticking over in terms of maintaining contact with people, knowing how effective that contact and outreach is, having people come into our deal flows with minimal risk of missing out on them, and having oversight over where all our customer interactions are up to, who's at what stage and what we need to do when, okay? You want that sort of functionality. Oh, sorry. And also with the customers, having all the necessary documents that relate to their deal attached to their deal. So we don't have to go hunting for stuff. Right? You think about that in terms of what you do, that sort of functionality, how much easier would it make business if you've got that sort of functionality in place? Because that's what's on tap. All that data corralled and controlled and accessible as and when you need it, rather than having to be hunted for, being overlooked, or being shoved down your throat. Which comes back to the first slide we had with the, oh my God, all this data, what do we do? Now, cash flow. Cash flow. How do we pay for everything? All right. Now, when it comes to cash flow, I've got their research, structure, and process are the keys. Now, you can apply that theory to a lot of stuff in business. Okay. It's not terribly unique. It's certainly not something I suddenly thought up. When it comes to projecting and monitoring and understanding your cash flow, nothing beats research and structure and process. Okay. And by that, I mean, let's just click over. All right. Cash flow budgets. Why would you do one? Well, because you want to have a look at the next 12 months and say, okay, here's what we want to do. And in case you're wondering, yes, at Adaptique here, we do have a cash flow budget for the next 12 months, and it is live, and we update it almost not every day, but every time something happens in the business, we decide to do another project or another client comes on board or we finish up with a client, we just dive into the cash flow and make sure it's up to date. and it projects where we're really going. So there's no surprises when suddenly we've got to pay for something, or we'd like to do something, or a client disappears, right? We know what's going to happen. So why do we do it? Gets rid of surprises. 2, it's an awesome planning document. Now I know, and I'm something of a subscriber to the theory that a cash flow is only out of date about 2 minutes after you've done it, because everything can change in the future. That's very true. Very, very true. But here's the thing, is that if you don't do a cash flow, if you don't plan out where you're going in the next 12 months, it doesn't matter if things change. You've got no idea what they were supposed to be anyway. You're not aiming at anything, so you're going to hit nothing. So you're going to do them because you want to set some revenue targets. Right? More importantly, you're going to do a cash flow budget because you want to sit down and think about, and this is where the research comes in, think about your cost base. And that's really where your cash flows start. Like this is when I talk about how do you do it. Okay. I use Excel because I always, well, not always, but I pretty much always have used it. I used to use Lotus 1, 2, 3 way back in the day. If you don't know what Lotus 1, 2, 3 is, ask your grandfather or your grandmother. They may very well remember it. I do it because it makes me think about my cost base. Right? For the next 12 months, what costs have we got in the business, okay, that we know about, that we are guaranteed to hit deck, and more importantly, when do we have to pay them? Okay, so let's put all that in. Now let's put in a start point in terms of a cash balance in the bank. Like how much money have we got there right now? As in right now, bang, in that goes. Cool. Looks pretty ugly right now because obviously we've got no income. Right, let's think about sales. What do we know is coming up? All right, and in terms of Adaptive, we know that we have a number of online courses coming up over the next 12 months. We have a guesstimate of that sort of revenue. With the digital solutions program, which this webinar is part of, we know that we have a certain cash flow that we can generate over the next few months with that coming through. With our existing client base, we know what projects we're working on with them and what people we're doing accountability and coaching with. So we know what that cash flow looks like for the next 12 months. All right, so there's our base. So we map that out and say, okay, all right, looking okay. Looks like we can keep the doors open for another 5 minutes. Awesome. Question number 3, what do we want to do? And you think about that in your business, all right? So you know what your cost base is. And remember, with your cost base, let's just come back 2 steps for a second. With your cost base, remember to put the costs in when you have to pay for them. Okay, like your insurance bill might be $2,000 a year, but you pay that at $175 a month. Okay, it may be instead of paying in one big hit, you just break it out. It may be that you pay it in one hit, but not until November. So cool, put it in November. Okay, just remember to put the expenses into the month when you pay them. Same with the revenue. Just because I'm doing a job for a client now, I've got one client now who signed up for us yesterday. The job started today, but they're not going to pay us. I mean, in fact, I'm not even going to send them a bill for 2 months. All right, when we're nearly finished, and that's when they're going to pay us and it'll all be done. Right, we'd actually deliver, they pay, happy days. So even though we know we've got a certain revenue amount in our cash flow, that's actually adding to the next calendar year. All right, I think that's the end of January from memory is when that comes in. So think about timing. All right, that's research, that's your structure. Month by month timing, lay it all out. When is stuff going to happen? When are we going to get paid? When do we have to pay for stuff? All right, so you can actually model how the business is going to travel for 12 months. That will have a number of benefits. All right, there's a whole lot of really cool things that flow off the back of that. Number 1, you'll have an idea of how much cash, not profit, cash you're going to generate on a monthly basis over the next 12 months, or the cash that you project to generate. You will know if you've got to tip some money into the business. You'll also know that if you're going to invest in some marketing, where you're going to have money to do that. And if not, where you have to throw some money back into the business to do that. If you understand the returns you get on your marketing spend, you can map that out and model that in the cash flow. And for anybody who's sat into my cash flow workshops, we spend an hour building one of these on Excel and seeing what happens when you have advertising spend. You know what the return is. You know that it takes a few months to roll in, so you know where you have to fund and where you get paid back. Okay, the same with grant applications. If we do it now, we've got to pay to have the grant done. We might not see the money for 4 months. What does that look like? Do we need to fund it, or can cash flow simply absorb that cost? It's an enormously handy planning tool. Now, speaking of structure and process, the other thing you need to do is when you set up your cash flow, and you're doing it month by month by month by month, is to do each month in 2 columns. Number 1 column obviously is budget or target, okay, in terms of the revenue that you would like to get in or expect to get in, the costs that you expect to pay and incur in that month. The second column next to it for the same month is the actual results you get. Okay, if you look at the cash flow we do here, you'll find that that column for us is live. Okay, I can put in there some of the activity I've done, and the cash flow is set up so that it knows that for that activity, we generate a certain amount of revenue and that gets paid at a certain point in time. For example, digital solutions. Okay, part of the deal is that we get paid for certain things that we do. We don't get paid until the middle of the following month. So I simply track what I'm doing in each section, and it tells me that next month I will get paid X dollars. So the document is live. That takes a lot of the guesswork and surprises out of what we do. And that's your process, is that you are constantly updating it. Every time something happens, every time you want to do something in the business, and you think, okay, how does that look in terms of the data? You go into the cash flow and you model it out and see what happens. Look at the impact. Okay, how good or bad is it going to be? Okay, a supplier goes out of business, so you've got to source your materials somewhere else, and the price goes up. Cool, awesome, just love it when that happens. What does it look like when we put it into the cash flow? What do we have to do to allow for that increase? Can we increase our prices? What if we just decide to increase our prices anyway, and we think we're going to lose 5% of our customers if we do that? What does that look like? Is that a good move or a bad move? How does that affect the cash flow in the business? Now, having said all that, let's talk about profit for a second. Right, now, you all understand that cash flow, indeed net cash, and profit are 2 different beasties. Okay, profit is simply the revenue that you've recorded in a certain period minus the expenses that you've recorded as incurring in a certain period, coming up with a net figure at the bottom. And of course, His Majesty's Loyal Tax Department would like their share of that if you don't mind very much. That's profit. Cash flow, just because you've recorded sales doesn't mean you've got the money. And just because you've recorded the fact that you've incurred expenses doesn't mean you've paid them. Okay, the 2 things are a little different, right? Cash flow drives your profit and loss statement, but they don't necessarily look the same. Right? So don't make the mistake of thinking, please don't make the mistake of thinking that the money you've got in the bank is your profit that you have to pay tax on. That ain't so. Okay, it may well be that you've got $1 million in the bank and you don't have to pay any tax because you've actually made a loss this year. You just haven't paid the expenses. Okay. So understand those 2 differences. Understand where in your accounting system you can find that data. Okay, because obviously, if we go back to how we do a cash flow budget, you're running off your expenses. So get your historical data out of your accounting system. Have a think about not only what expenses you've incurred, but when you've incurred them, and plot it out over 12 months. And then think about your revenue. Where does it come from? When does it turn up? Okay, just because we sell something today, we might not get paid for 60 days because that particular customer is a very slow payer. It may be that it's related to a certain project and they're not going to pay you until 60 days when the project is done. Like one of our customers I was saying before, we're not getting paid till January. That's fine. Nature of the beast. It's no drama. Just is what it is. And we model it out accordingly. Okay. So think about all of that. Now, that's covered off those 3 in some pretty broad terms. We've got some spare time. So what I'd like to do, okay, I'll just put that away for a second. All right, go away. Have everybody back. Now, what I'd like to do would be, if people just want to fire up their microphones, let's have a general discussion about how in your business you think that you can implement some task management, some CRM systems, and start doing some effective cash flow planning. How's that going to be of any sort of benefit to your business, and what sort of advice and help would you like? Vicky, you've unmuted.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes. Yeah, not too bad.
Cool. It's been a while.
Yeah. Kelby, this gets me thinking so much. Because especially your point that you made before, if you're just working off, putting money into the account and you don't have anything that you're planning on doing, then, you know, what are you doing? You're just building up a bank account. So this is actually making me think about things that I want to do with my business. So what,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
projecting things for the future. So accounting is a whole world that I've never really looked into before. But this is yeah, so this whole like cash management system and tracking of tasks and that kind of stuff. I can see, and I have been speaking with other people in the family over the last 12 months, and I can see how you know, tracking these things and putting them up where everyone else can see and access can be really helpful. And what I had been doing previously is that basic. I've got a diary, I've got a job book where I've got inquiries coming in. I text people confirmations of the bookings, and I make a copy and paste onto a chat, like a messenger chat, so that everyone else in the family can see what's going on. I've got a bloody whiteboard, right? So I've got all of these places where I have to like repeat myself again and again and again, and I am so over it. So
Okay.
I am really looking forward to implementing some systems so that at least halving my workload, because it all ends up on my shoulders. And if I forget something, oh my God, like, yeah, you know, I'm letting myself down and I'm letting everybody else down. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting something.
Okay.
Some systems into place.
Okay. There is so much in all of that. Oh my goodness. All right. Number one thing that comes out of that, you have a whiteboard. I love whiteboards. They are great.
Yes.
They are great strategy tools, whether it's an electronic whiteboard or an actual physical, my goodness, give me the marker, please, whiteboard. They're a great way of getting all your thoughts out and mapping them out and kicking them around before you actually start systemizing what you're doing. What I don't like seeing, and a lot of businesses are like this, is where a whiteboard is used as their project management or their workflow management tool. Because the thing with those is that they're physical, they're in one spot, and unless everybody else is in the office, no one else is going to see it. So I would suggest with what you're doing that having something like the baby versions of Asana, Trello, ClickUp, blah, 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 having something like that where everybody else in the team has access and they can see what's going on would be enormously beneficial for you. There's a couple of your processes there I'd probably change a little bit, in as much as, you know, if you've got a task management system with a card for each customer and they are at a certain stage, there's no need to be updating everybody else by email and diary and stuff. It's all there in front of you. You just need to implement it properly. Yes. Okay. Now, if we come back another step to one of the earlier points you made around your accounting system and your cash flow and your planning, you've actually hit the nail on the head. You are exactly correct in saying you've got all this money in the bank. Now you should really do something with it. That's that's one of the things we use our cash flow budget for, is we sit down and say, okay, here's where we're traveling to. This is what the next 12 months should look like. At this point over the next 12 months, we're actually going to have some surplus, some seriously surplus cash. Cool. What are we going to do with that? Because that is an asset which we can make work for. Sitting it in the bank account is not the worst thing in the world. Like putting on number 7 in the 5th of Randwick would be fundamentally worse than that. But we can do so much more. All right. So how about we plan out? Should we invest in going to a trade show or two to find some more customers? Should we do some sponsorship to put something back into the community and also at the same time get some sort of economic benefit? Should we expand the team and use that money for more tech or some more people? Okay, what can we do with that money? How can we leverage that to grow our business? Okay, and that's the conversation that you need to have firstly with yourself, Okay. I must admit, I do tend to lock myself away for those chats and say, all right, this is where we're looking. What would I like to do? All right, let's talk to the rest of the team about it and see what they think. All right. Without me driving the conversation, I've got my own little wish list down the side, but I'll just put that aside and let's hear what everybody else has to say and then bring my points in and see what we all agree upon and where we end up going. All right. Now, without really understanding how you're, I don't really want to talk about how your business is structured and who calls the shots and who owns what, but ultimately somebody has to make the decision. All right. And if that's you, and you don't want to be seen to be driving the conversation in a certain direction, I'll be holding my wish list back, which is what I do, and say, okay, I mean, ultimately somebody has to pull the trigger on it, and ultimately that tends to be me, but I'm not the one who has the sole say. So my point of view is held back. Let's see what everybody else has to say. Okay, that's cool. This is kind of what I'm thinking, but having taken all this on board, let's mix it all in together. Let's blend it up, see what comes out of it. And now we have a not a new strategy, but we've amended our strategy because these documents, your planning in your business is a living thing. Okay. If you sit down and say for the next 12 months, this is what we're going to do, and that's set in concrete, I would suggest with respect, you're probably setting yourself up for some pain, and you're going to miss some opportunities to do some very cool stuff. Okay. So when you write these out, I tend to use a very dark pencil, because this is pretty much, this is my plan for the year. Dark pencil, noting that this is what I want to do, but it's in pencil because, there may be other opportunities that come up that we go, oh, hang on, rub that out. We're not going to do that now. We're going to do this instead because suddenly there's just really cool opportunities open up. We can go in this direction. We can do a few things down here, and the whole plan changes. All right, so you've got to have that flexibility around what you're planning and what you're doing. Okay. And your account and with your cash flow, don't forget to look at your accounting system and go, okay, what's our profit look like? Because sooner or later, we're going to have to pay some tax on all this money. It's going to have to be distributed out. Let's think about that, and let's make sure the three of them all roll together. Okay?
Yeah, cool.
All righty. Now, do we have any other questions? Anything else you want to kick around, guys?
Oh, yeah, Kelby.
Hey, Terry, how you doing?
Good, mate. Hey, I'm just wondering if my SM8 system that I use for job management and delegation to my staff, if that's basically what you're talking about with this major task management stuff.
Yeah, that is a task management system, absolutely, because right. You're lining up there the jobs you've got on, who has to do them, and you've got oversight around where each of them is up to.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so that's getting there. Now, don't forget that alongside that, do your planning for 12 months with your cash flow. All right. Now, from memory, SM8 also has the ability for you to reach out to your customers too, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can even have them write up their own job and send you the email. So they can request a service.
Okay, that's very cool.
I haven't done it yet, mind you.
Oh,
because I don't want them. I don't want them sending me too many emails. I can't.
Yeah, well, there is that, and sometimes customers ask for stuff which is just fundamentally impossible.
And so, which part of that program would be the CRM? Because I'm sorry, my apologies. I did come in late.
That's okay. That's okay.
A couple of minutes late, so.
Right off the top of my head, I'm not sure. What I can do though, I'll put up a slide in a sec with my contact details. Shoot me an email and we can have a chat. I'll do a little bit of homework for you. We'll have a bit of a chat about what can be done in that area and whether SM8 has true CRM capability. Because a lot of those systems do have the ability for you to reach out to your clients and send emails out to them and keep them in touch with what's going on. What they don't tend to have is the ability to set up potential customers and really use that data to build some opportunity flow in your business. Okay.
Yep. No worries.
All righty. So actually, I'll do that now while I've got everybody's undivided attention. There we go. Three things. Actually, before I do that, very quickly, there are 3 things that your CRMs, your task management, and your cash flows are going to do for you. They're going to help you to derive strategies to build repeat business, because you can reach out to your client base and say, here's where we're at. This is what's happening. Come and talk to us. We can solve your problems for you. All right. They'll show you where cash flow is constrained, even though you've got strong sales, because you're still not collecting the money, and you can plan for that and work around it. And also, and here's the big one with your task management, you delegate the task to people who've got the capacity and capability to do it, so you don't get a blockage in your workflow. So things get done and you've got oversight as to who's doing what, when, and where everything is up to. Now, just about to wind it up, there's my contact details. Okay. For those of you who are here today, if you've got some more questions like Terry with his CRMs and Vicky around her planning, shoot me a note, reach out, and we'll have a chat and we'll see what we can do in that area to help give you a hand. Okay. Now, for those of you who aren't sort of fully au fait with this, today's webinar is part of the Digital Solutions Program. It's brought to you by Business Station and AusIndustry. And thank you very much for my partners there who are pretty much funding all of this to really help lift small business in Australia. Okay. It's a great program. If you haven't taken advantage of what we deliver in digital solutions, go to businessstation.com.au, hit the register button, $44. You get 7 hours, or actually you get 3 hours of one-on-one help, and then access to all of our workshops and webinars. And we can work on some of your digital pain points. We can help make your business stronger, more profitable. You can employ more people, and we can all go to the beach in the Bahamas and have a Christmas party, which actually sounds like a good idea this time of year. So that pretty much wraps us up for today. Thank you for your attention. Appreciate the guys who turned up today and had a chat. That's been awesome. Love a bit of interaction. For those who want more help, more feedback, there's my contact details. Shoot me a note and we can see what we can do for you. But other than that, thank you very much. And I will see you all again at another workshop on another day. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Bye.